Everyone who watching this video definitely knows who Spider-Man is. The dude that can shoot webs and crawl on walls. When it comes to shooting webs, sure, he is the best. But when it comes to crawling, Spider-Man might need to bow down to a gecko. Yeah, a gecko. Because there's something seriously weird about geckos. They can crawl and run across almost any surface. Smooth glass, wet walls, even hang upside down from the ceiling like it's nothing. And what makes it even more absurd is that geckos do that without using any glue or adhesive at all. A gecko can walk on all surfaces because it uses one of the weakest forces in nature. Wait, what? The weakest force? Yeah, the weakest force. And that weak force combines with billions of nanotechnologies on its feet. Sounds even more absurd, right? Now, think about this. Gravity can keep planets in orbit. It keeps us from floating away. But the gecko looks like it's barely affected at all. That doesn't make sense. And precisely because it doesn't make sense, researchers all over the world have been studying this little creature for years. In this video, we're going to talk about this amazing little menace. Let's talk about it. Before modern science truly understood geckos, this tiny creature genuinely drove people crazy. Just think about it. An animal the size of your finger can run across smooth glass, rough concrete walls, even hang upside down from the ceiling, and no one knew how. Geckos don't use glue at all. They don't leave any residue on the surface they've passed over. Their feet stay dry and not sticky at all. Geckos also don't use suction cup methods like a phone holder, because suction only works on super smooth and flat surfaces. Meanwhile, geckos can stick to rough walls, to wood, even to stone. And geckos don't use chemical reaction tricks either, because they can stick anytime they want without waiting for any reaction. They can attach and detach whenever they want. So at this point, many people were confused. If it's not glue, suction cups, or chemical reactions, then what exactly lets a gecko casually fight gravity like that? After years of research, the answer turned out to be way stranger than anyone expected. Geckos can stick to almost any surface because they use an incredibly tiny force. Yes, a tiny force. So tiny it's almost meaningless, often described as one of the weakest forces in nature. And that force is called the van der Waals force.
Van der Waals force. The position of the electrons inside an atom or molecule create a polarity, an electric field with a positive and negative pole. This induces a matching polarity in other atoms or molecules close by. The result is a temporary adhesive force between them. We call this the van der Waals force.
The van der Waals force is not something big or dramatic at all. It's not like gravity pulling entire planets into orbit. It's not like a magnet where we can instantly see the effect. Van der Waals is just a small force that appears at the atomic level. Like we learned in school, an atom has protons and neutrons sitting in the nucleus at the center. And around that nucleus, electrons are constantly moving. At first glance, the electrons look evenly distributed around the atom. But not really. Electrons are constantly moving, constantly changing position, and at a certain moment, their distribution can slightly accumulate on one side. As a result, that side becomes slightly more negative. Now this small imbalance can influence a neighboring atom. It can cause the electron distribution in that atom to shift as well. So suddenly, the side that tends to be negative from one atom can face the side that tends to be more positive from the atom next to it. And in that brief moment, a small attractive force appears. That force is what we call the van der Waals force. This is the force that geckos use to stick. But the problem is the attractive effect of the van der Waals force is extremely small, and it also lasts for a very short time. Its effect means absolutely nothing if it comes from just one atom or one molecule. So, to increase the effect, the gecko doesn't rely on van der Waals forces in small numbers. It multiplies the interactions. Not in the hundreds, not in the thousands, but multiplied into billions. Yeah, billions. Billions of van der Waals forces that are distributed across billions of nanostructures on its feet. Now let's take a closer look at the gecko's feet. If we look at them with the naked eye, they look totally normal. Okay, maybe it's a little bit weird. I mean, it's nothing special at all. But if we look closer with an electron microscope, we will see that the surface of a gecko's foot actually consists of millions of tiny hairs like this. And if we zoom in even further, each of those hairs turns out to branch again into many smaller structures. Those branches are called setae. These setae are extremely small, because in just 1 square millimeter, the number of setae can reach up to 14,000. But it turns out, the structure doesn't stop there. Each of those setae branches again into thousands of much smaller tips, and those tips are called spatulae. Now pay attention to the scale. One spatula is about 100 nanometers wide. For comparison, a human hair is around 100,000 nanometers thick, which means one strand of human hair is roughly 1,000 times thicker than a single spatula. Yeah, 1,000 times. That's not just small, that's a whole different world. Comparing one spatula to one strand of hair is like comparing a highway to a thin thread. Now remember the van der Waals force we talked about earlier? That force is extremely small and very brief. Its effect wouldn't be felt at all if it happened on just one molecule, and the gecko takes advantage of this. By using billions of spatulae on its feet, it multiplies the effect of the van der Waals force millions, even billions of times over. And in the end, that's how the gecko can crawl on almost any surface. With that combination, the gecko truly wins against gravity. Spider-Man? When it comes to crawling, not even close. Now pay attention to one important thing. Gravity doesn't change, the gecko's weight doesn't change, the only thing that changes is the number. One molecular interaction? It means nothing. 1,000 interaction? Still barely noticeable. But if billions of interactions happening at the same time, that's a different story. Because something that almost meaningless on its own suddenly can turn into something powerful just by being multiplied enough times. And in the case of the gecko, that multiplication is way beyond what most of us would ever expect. With these facts about geckos, humans obviously didn't just sit back. The moment we figured out how gecko feet actually work, scientists immediately tried to copy it. And that's when all kinds of technology started showing up. Glue-free adhesives, wall-climbing robots, even nanomaterials designed to mimic the structure of setae and spatulae. Some researchers have even built prototype gloves that claim they could let humans crawl like a gecko. Sounds cool, right? It almost feels like Spider-Man is just one step away from being real. But there's one problem standing between us and becoming Spider-Man, and it's not about the method, it's about scale. You have to understand that nature has scaling limits that control how body proportions work. That ratio affects how biological systems function and how physical forces act on living bodies. That rule is called the law of scaling, but we're not diving into that in this video. It's a seriously interesting topic, and also pretty complex, so it deserves its own episode. For now, let's keep the spotlight on the gecko, a tiny creature that makes Spider-Man look average.